Okay, a little late. Sorry about that. Here we go.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roger, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 6,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Let me get my bearings here real quick. Late start, audio airs. The last second, of course, everything breaks just before go time. Yes, indeed. One more thing. Let's get on the radio there. KUAP Digital Broadcasting, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls. The phone line is down to, I don't know what's up with that. Working on it as we go. Hey, good thing I have 8 tentacles tucked under the back of my shirt. Tonight, look, we're going to get weird. As usual, you know me, I'm looking for inspiration all over the place all the time. I think it's important to recognize the mystery of the world. I think it's important to recognize where we came from, the folklore aspect of just everything. And like I've said recently, looking around the places you live in for some of the most amazing stories. And today I was lucky enough to get paid to go drive to some of these wild out there rural Nevada places. And as I was driving back from one of them, Laughlin, Nevada, matter of fact, I was driving by a little town called Nelson. Now, Nelson is a ghost town, and there's many ghost towns riddled all over southern Nevada, as many of you know. And I was like, all right, I don't know much about Nelson. So I pull up Grok and I'm talking to this thing, this like magical box that's on my phone that's teaching me all about the history of this ghost town, right? I'm like, wow, this is highly fascinating. This is amazing. And not only that, it's got like this massive haunted space to it. And tonight, look, I was going to go really deep into this and do like a choose your own adventure type episode, but everything broke at the last second. So I'm not going to risk that because everything was kind of breaking. So anyway, we'll do that another time. I'll unveil new technology, which will be super sweet. We'll do this old school style and just talk haunted dogs because this is why. All the links are in the description. I encourage you to check this out. Read the write-up in full. It is fantastic. And it is about these old ghost towns, about these old mining towns and the legends of the hauntings that still persist today, which is incredible. And in this one, we're talking about the hell dogs of Eldorado Canyon, Nevada. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, let me just read a little bit of this and you will hopefully be annoyed because leaving your dogs behind to die is horrific. But anyway, this is from legendsofamerica.com. Eldorado Canyon in Nevada has a broader range of historical events than anywhere in the Wild West. This rich history, coupled with the turbulent events of Eldorado Canyon during the 19th century, has given rise to numerous ghost stories of deceased miners, Native Americans, and pioneers who once inhabited the area. However, the ghostly tales of canine spirits are some of the most fascinating. Yeah, we're going to go ghost dogs tonight. Reportedly, during the rowdy mining days, many prospectors kept dogs at their claim sites to protect their property. Man's best friend indeed. Reared to attack at the slightest trespass by strangers, the dogs were often extremely vicious. Not really man's best friend anymore. Many of these dogs were left when the gold dried up and there was no more value in the space. Many of these dogs were shot. They were chained up and left to die in the desert, kind of set free. And if anybody knows anything about southern Nevada, there's not a lot of water out here. And if you don't find it soon, you're as good as gone. And so it really leads to this tragic aspect of not just this very murderous gold mine, gold town, gold boom town, which is incredible, just a lot of the stories that go along with it, but to the horrific event of them just literally leaving their dogs there to die. When they're done with them, they train them, raise them to be mean and nasty and fight everything and guard their gold. And then when they didn't need him anymore, they left them to die. And wouldn't you know it, strangely enough, there are still stories whispered in Eldorado Canyon about the hauntings of these pack of dogs left to die. Now, lots of questions on my mind because, of course, the storytelling part is the probably the best part of this, the most fascinating part. But there's a lot of ideas that kind of come through my mind when I'm thinking of this. Now, specifically, we'll start with the very most basic essence of this, which is the animal consciousness effect. Okay. Now, to start the questions, do you believe that animals have some level of consciousness? I think most of us would probably say yes, but I don't want to be presumptuous and put words into your mouth. So this is a conversation. By the way, we are taking your calls tonight. If you want to be part of the conversation, trying to fix the phone line that is down for right now, but we're taking your calls on the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, put your hand up. Okay. But anyway, so not just that. So the idea of dogs and like traumatic ground. Now we know about the ghosts of Gettysburg, and when, you know, these big battlefields, they're haunted perpetually because of course they say that in the older days that some of these battles were fought on hallowed ground. Anyway, they sort of pick these spots as power spaces, ley line conjunctions, things like this for whatever reasons. And sometimes, you know, maybe that was by accident, but sometimes who knows what level of planning goes into sort of the battlefield aspect of everything. Like how much, you know, if a wizard's running the joint, clearly they're going to try and fight the battle on a ley line conjunction. And I say, you know, the term wizard loosely, let's say an occultist general, for instance, just throwing that out there. But in any case, so Gettysburg, the battlefield, and many other battlefields, not just across the United States, but across the world, are known as being haunted spaces. Now, and that's because a lot of reasons, right? Sort of the traumatic effect of the battle, of human consciousness dying, passing on, the hallowed ground aspect, possibly. Maybe it goes back to earlier native traditions where it's like a power spot. Or, of course, just the overall the trauma of the fight, of, you know, bleeding and dying and killing and just all the horrific stuff that goes into a battle in and of itself. Now, so that stuff we do know. But the thing that struck me about this story tonight that we're talking about is very specifically that these are dogs. I mean, these are animals. But even though it still is a traumatic space, because one, they were reared to be nasty and mean and bite people and all the rest of that. But then, and they did their job, but then when the time came to move on, many of these miners just left them to die, shot them, chained them up, let them go into the desert, as I said. And still, whispers to this day suggest there are ghost dogs patrolling the area of Eldorado Canyon. Now, lots of questions, like I said. Do you believe animals have consciousness? What about hallowed ground for animals? What about animals as a pack consciousness that remains even unto the end and beyond, guarding these mines today? I don't know. Does it sit weird with you? Does it make some sense? And do you think if humans have souls, do dogs have souls? And how would they respond and react when they pass in a horrific situation such as this? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. As usual, look, you tell me. I don't know the answers to these questions. All the disclaimers do apply. I'm just here talking about ideas and cool stories and things I find along the road and chasing the inspiration. So looking to hear your thoughts on this. As usual, if you want to be part of the conversation, you know the number to call is not working, but you can also put your hand up on the Discord and pop on in here, and we'll talk to you, which we'll talk to James in just a second. But first, let's get a word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be Human Inspiration. Actually, no, Stoic Mindset. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere. And we got James coming up and your calls as well. Be right back.
Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? So that's where we start. The Hell Dogs of Eldorado Canyon. Stop me if you've heard this one. I'm going to say probably almost for certain you haven't heard this one, and neither have I, and I live here. So yeah, let's talk about it. Anyway, I think it's far more fascinating to talk about the metaphysical aspects of this, but I love these legends, these old Southwest legends of these places that have really harrowing pasts and tragic things that have gone down. In particular, the reason it stood out is because of the dogs. As you know, I love dogs. I've had dogs. I still have a dog, even though she's a little, I love her. Well, though she is a little but you get it, right? It stood out to me. But anyway, does it stand out to you? Is it something worthy of a larger Troubled Minds discussion? That's the point. Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the conversation, click the Discord link, troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thanks for being patient, my friend. James in Michigan, South Cedar Paranormal. How are you, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. What is going on? I hope you're feeling well, and go right ahead. Oops, wrong button. Oop, wrong button again. Wrong button again. Damn it, James. This is all James's fault. I'm just kidding, James. Go ahead. How you doing? Test 1, 2, James. Uh-oh. Did I really, truly break all the audio? Can anybody hear him? Can anybody hear me? It'd be super awesome if I just broke all the audio. That looks fine.
How about this?
There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. I told you this is all James's fault. I'm just kidding. Welcome to the thing. How you doing? Thanks for fixing it.
Yeah.
What's on your mind, my man?
Great topic. I've heard a lot of accounts of individual ghost animals, ghost dogs, ghost cats. Never heard of a possibility of a group. So this is unique to me as far as from what I've heard. I also do want to say, not that this is a paid plug or anything, but Legends of America, I can tell you, there's a lot of times in some of my shows, some of the sources for things have come from that website. So that's a cool place to go and just look around if you ever want to just check out that website as well.
Amen. Well said. Legendsofamerica.com. Links in the description down below. And again, Hell Dogs of Eldorado Canyon is what we're talking about tonight. Like I said, we can range far and wide. As you guys know, we kind of leave a little bit of meandering space here to talk about these ideas. But so the pack aspect of consciousness really stuck with me in terms of the dogs, because as we know, dogs are pack animals, all the rest of it. But then in the larger context, in this horrific situation where they were left to die in the desert, and still maybe to this day are maybe even guarding the spots that they guarded in life. I mean, it really echoes back this sort of this mythological Cerberus three-headed dog of the underworld type space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean it makes sense that they would, once however they're trained for good or for ill. You hear about dogs sticking with their. I've even heard about dogs staying near where their master's grave is at in some cases after they passed. Or going to the same spot after someone has passed on, and just spending the rest of their own lives there. So, but yeah, this is a fascinating thing. I just also any kind of a ghost town, any kind of an old mine. It seems like nearly every mine I've ever heard of has some kind of ghost stories attached to it. There's something within that whole. I mean, the danger of the situation, even to this day. And then just trying to take out things from the planet itself, maybe not to get too preachy here or anything like that, but just kind of weird how these things, you can get things from the planet and from the earth and from deep in the earth, but it's not going to be easy.
No, definitely. And the thing too about the Southwest and the gold mines and the rest of it, like you say, many of these places do come up haunted because it is a big trauma spot. It is, shout out Matt Sally says there's an old native saying, I believe, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but the world has enough for every man's need, but not for every man's greed. And in these cases, when we're talking gold mines and silver mines and sort of that whole 49ers boom, that whole business was really horrific because people were killing each other over, right? If you can keep it quiet and mine it yourself, you can become rich. But suddenly when everybody else kind of catches on, then you're competing with a bunch of people and it just gets nasty because, right, the law is dozens or hundreds of miles away sometimes. And well, here we are. So a lot of these places are not just haunted in that aspect of, let's say, the deep caves of Cerberus or something, the cave to the underworld, as I'm describing. But as you're describing, they are very horrific in terms of human greed. And these are just one of those sort of power spots, at least in that regard, which certainly stands out as part of it. And the dogs, like I said, are a fascinating throughput on this.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before with the dogs being used to guard them like that, the mines like that. Of course, ghost towns as well, because of their connection to the mines. Really common for those to have paranormal activity surrounding them. I've never experienced a ghost dog, but when I find accounts of ghost dogs, there's always a mix. Some people saying they had this apparition of a dog show up and lead them away from a possibly dangerous area. And then you hear other accounts of people being chased by dogs, by these shadow dogs almost, out of places or away from places, or even having them pace you while you're driving a vehicle. I've heard of that too, which these are vehicles, like modern vehicles, and people have seen these shadow figure kind of dog type creatures just running along the road with them as they're driving a vehicle.
Yeah, well said. And actually, one of those comes out of this tale right here. Let me just read you this quick little blurb. So the highlighted tale from this, The Hell Dogs of Eldorado Canyon, is this. So it describes two brothers who camp near an old mine shaft where a rusty chain is embedded in the rock and dog bones lie inside the tunnel. As night falls, they hear panting, growling, and the sound of unseen paws circling their camp. The chain appears to be tugged by an invisible force. Something brushes one brother's leg, and as they flee in their car, they hear invisible dogs running alongside them for miles, very much like James is describing here. And this is the type of stuff that makes me wonder, right? And look, you don't have to believe in ghosts to kind of entertain these ideas, as I keep saying. I leave that to you. You believe what you want to believe. But I think it is fascinating that a lot of this folklore still sticks and is still relevant in many places in the world with similar stories, which is why we always talk about these ideas in the way we do, because you kind of can't shake it. It just comes back no matter where you're at. And it goes back, thousands of years with some of these exact tales, which is absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's there's always there's always too many accounts of too many similar experiences for there to be nothing. I'm not saying it has to be ghosts either, but there's something to all this. And with animals, and it's weird because we don't often hear about ghosts like deer or ghost elk or ghost, these animals that are not so much connected to people, but you do hear about ghost cats, ghost dogs a lot. And and the idea that I've heard is that it's because they're connected to people. Now, I think that's putting a lot of importance on people. Not that we're not important, but we're not the best and we're not the worst. So why does that matter? But it seems to in so many reports of activity.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you pit us against elephants, we're probably the worst. I mean, these big lovable critters or whatever, right? I mean, don't get me started. But anyway, I digress. Not the best, not the worst. I can go with that when it comes to humans. Now, check this out. Matt South says in the chat, ghost dinosaurs, right? I mean, maybe that goes a little too far back, but who knows? Like, this is just a couple questions that kind of prime the pump here and kind of get our minds thinking in this space. So if a place absorbs enough violence, does it ever stop being violent? For instance, these mines, or does it just change form in some capacity? 2, have you ever been somewhere where it felt wrong before you knew why? Where the atmosphere told you something the history confirmed later, like one of these old ghost towns, something like that. And is there a difference between a haunted place and a cursed one? And suddenly, like I said, all the channels of discussion open up because there's a lot of ways to look at this. And what do you know? Do you think, with the starting question there, do you think that dogs in some capacity do have a soul and they're able to haunt places, and the trauma that they experience during and through their passing actually in some way can stick, just like a battleground, just like Gettysburg or any other traumatic space? Love to hear your thoughts. A lot of ways to look at this, like I said. Phone number's down. I'm working on that. If you want to be part of the conversation, click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We're here with James Salcedo tonight, of course, of Salcedo Paranormal, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. We'll give him a follow on all the places, troubledminds.org/, friends. Be right back. I'm going to work on the phone line while we are away. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just a quick minute or two. More from James and your calls as well. Be right back.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Chain in the rock where the left us here in the dark below, with the bones and the dust and the things we know. We did not choose this ground. We did not choose this ground, but we keep it still. We keep it still. We are the last watch, faithful to the void, still at the entrance, still at the door. What was abandoned cannot be destroyed. We are still running. Dorado burned in a miner's dream. Nothing down here is what it seems. The shaft goes deep where the light won't go. We have been waiting for 100 years below. We did not choose this ground. We did not choose this ground, but we keep it still. We keep it still. We are the last watch, faithful to the void, still at the entrance, still at the door. What was abandoned cannot be destroyed. We are still
or something. I hope you guys are well tonight. Like I said, I hate when everything breaks at the last second. It's just the way it happens, I guess. Still working on the phone line. It's not up yet. What's up, James? You were the best. Thanks for being here. What's up, Dragon Rose, Sacha, Lunging Mule, Daryl, with Chef Pete. We got APOC, Herschel, Batsell, and Karen Rocks. Indeed. How you doing, Karen? Good evening. Over to what's up? We get first over on Rumble. Hiker is here. We got a puff sighting. What's going on, guys? We've got who is here? Theo, Nostradamus. I see you guys. Thanks for being nice to each other. Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Hello. Who'd I miss? Margie is here. What's going on, guys? Hello. Hello. Theo, like I said, scroll down. Nostradamus, Hiker. Yeah, thanks again for being so kind to each other. It's like I said, it means a lot to me to be able to build something and have people show up and enjoy it and not just be contentious and hateful. And it's just a great joy to have you guys here. Thank you for being part of it. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. More from James and your calls as well. What do you know about this? Does it surprise you that maybe dogs continue, in this case, guarding the space they passed away in? Let's go. Wait, is that the right one? No, that's the wrong one. Hold on. That's the right one. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls on Discord as I work on the phone line still, as we talk about this idea of these haunted dogs guarding these old mines. These dogs were left for dead, and they say that these places are still haunted. Let me just read the blurb. Deep in the Nevada desert, an hour from Las Vegas, Eldorado Canyon spent the better part of a century collecting the dead. Miners, outlaws, deserters, and the dogs they chained to the rock walls and left behind when the gold ran out. Those dogs never left, because of course they described them as being the place being haunted. I'll read the blurb from here to fill you in on some of the cool stories that come out of this Eldorado Canyon. I think it's amazing. But also, more importantly, for the larger conversation, what do you guys know about this? Does it surprise you? Have you ever had contact with an animal you thought has passed, or maybe moved into the space of somebody who kept dogs or whatever, and many had passed there? And are they still around? I mean, these are a lot of tales you hear from pet owners that kind of recognize these things. I've heard these throughout the years of my life. Different accounts, different people describing different situations, and it makes you wonder. if there's enough resonant energy in the soul of a dog per se to actually be able to persist, and not just persist, to continue doing their job long after they're gone. In this case, think of it this way. This Eldorado Canyon, right? These dogs were snarly and vicious, and they were trained to be that way. They were bred and born and basically probably abused to be this way. And not only that, even though they're still there, quote, haunting the place, again, according to folklore and tradition, they're still there just doing their job. Does that make some sense? Does it make you feel differently about the haunted dog growling at you while you're setting up a campfire? Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. Click all the buttons and all the things, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord, come say hi. Anything on that, James? I'm going to read a little bit of blurb from here to slow things down for me in my mind, because like I said, when everything's broken, I'm just a disaster trying to get it all back together again. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Anything on that, James? And then we'll go to some of the background story of this and hopefully get some people wanting to talk about it. James.
Dang it, buttons tonight are killing me.
James, welcome, James. Yeah, that's you and me both. I'm telling you, everything. I'm not kidding you. The things that broke just before showtime tonight was like, what in the hell is going on? Maybe the gremlins are back. Anyway, welcome back. How you doing? Go ahead, sir.
I'm better now. But yeah, I've heard of, the whole pets, these spirits of pets coming back to owners and everything. And I think that is a really common type of example of ghost animals in general. What's weird with that, though, is there's people, and I've had this myself, who have experiences with ghost animals, ghost dogs, ghost cats especially, that do not seem to belong to the person that has the experience. I've had that here before. I've had that even before I got my pet that I have now, Logan, my cat. I had ghost cat experiences, and then they continued on and off. They still do once in a great while, even though I still have Logan, and it's not a cat that I recognize visually. It's a cat that I'm 99% sure no one in my family has ever had. This one type of cat, which is this big white cat with these, I don't know, just really bright eyes, like blue eyes kind of thing. And no one in my family has ever had one of those, as far as I know.
Yeah, that one I say I don't know about that. I haven't heard of maybe others sticking around or whatever. So do you think there's like an ancestral sort of spirit or sort of a territorial spirit? How do you kind of define that? At least from the mind of a paranormal enthusiast here, the expert, of course. I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but what do you think it is? Is it a resonant energy of territorial thing, or is it maybe an ancestral spirit? I can buy both, because I think both probably make a lot of sense, even though you don't know this particular feline or whatever. It almost seems as if it knows you, right?
It does. At least it knows the area. I wonder how often it's the area or the people. I don't know for sure, because it's not always here as far as I can tell either. It just seems to come and go. But you do hear accounts of these ghost animals that are just present in the location when, let's say, a family moves in, and in some cases they never even had a cat. Which is fascinating to me. They'll start the story off by saying, we don't have cats, but this is what happened. And they'll talk about seeing literally either a ghost, kind of a shadowy apparition of a cat, or what looks like a physical cat. But then it vanishes before, in weird ways where they can't explain it.
Yeah, common. Not just that, but then the feeling of a cat jumping on the bed when there's no cat there. There's a lot of this type of stuff that kind of comes out from these experiences that, again, not just people publish on the internet, but I'm sure many of you have heard similar tales, or maybe even had them happen to you. Okay, so back to the write-up. Unless you got anything to add, James, go ahead. But I'm going to read a little bit of the write-up to fill in some of the background. Maybe fill some heads with stories that we can talk about, because there's a lot of really cool stuff here.
Yes, now looking forward to the write-up.
Right on. Let's do it. Okay, so straight from the write-up, like I said, do check it out. It's the Troubled Minds newsletter, troubledminds.org on the very top. Just click that. It's growing like crazy. I can't explain it. I mean, other than there's like really cool ideas there up there a lot. But you guys get to experience them in audio format. But anyway, so there's a canyon about an hour south of Las Vegas that has spent the better part of 2 centuries collecting the dead. Not metaphorically. Eldorado Canyon and the ghost town of Nelson at its heart accumulated violence at a rate that stunned even hardened observers of the frontier. A gold miner named John Riggs wrote in 1880 that he believed that there had never
been another place where, in proportion to its population, so many murders were committed without the criminals ever being brought to trial or even identified. That sentence was not hyperbole. It was a field report. The Spaniards, who first arrived in 1775, found gold and silver and eventually abandoned the place when the returns felt insufficient. After them came the Civil War deserters, men who had nowhere else to go, who established the, I think if you say it this way, Techatticup Mine. That's all the links are in the description if you want to check that out. Don't forget, Nevada is battle-born on Halloween in 1865 during the Civil War. So it seems like almost as if it's a power spot in that regard, because, again, huge contentious space happening, tons of people dying in all these battles, and deserters and all the rest. Anyway, so the nearest sheriffs were stationed in Pioche, in Hiko? I think it's Hiko, H-I-K-O, almost 220 miles away. So there's no lawmen out here, no army garrisons, nothing. And the treacherous route to Eldorado Canyon dissuaded most of them from making the journey, leaving locals to form their own posses and enforce their own version of justice. And we've seen historically how horrific that can be. What that meant in practice was that the canyon operated as a closed system, violence going in and staying in, consequence arriving rarely and late, if at all. The town itself was eventually renamed Nelson after Charles Nelson, a prospector murdered in 1897 along with 4 others. The canyon was also home to 2 of Nevada's most notorious renegade figures, Avote, Ahvote, and Quejo. Many of you may have heard of this guy, the first actual serial killer of Nevada. He was native, as you might expect, only because the huge encroachment on the natives at the time was really horrific as well. But you spell that Queho, Quejo, I believe. So anyway, Avote was believed responsible for 5 deaths, and Quejo was thought to have killed more than 20, with his last confirmed victim in 1919. Anyway, you get the point. There's a ton of violence happening in this spot, and it is so far remote and so far removed from any level of the lawmen or, like I said, military garrisons or anything of the time, not to mention the Civil War's going on. So there's all manner of things happening. But then there's this hardened criminal element that's here trying to find riches, trying to find greed, finding their greed space, and training these dogs, again, to kind of guard their claims, which, like I said, was the part that kind of caught me a little bit, because it's said today those dogs still haunt these actual mines. So Avote was believed responsible. I read that, okay. The ghosts reported in Nelson tend to be human ones. The shapes of miners seen moving through the old structures, voices heard inside the shafts, general atmospheric weight of the place where sudden death was so common it stopped being remarkable, okay. And we've heard a lot of this. We've heard a lot of these places or these old ghost towns seeing, humanoid spirits. But in this case, like I said, the part that stood out to me was the canyon keeping this other kind of haunting. One that sits differently than the rest, of course, and it is these dogs. So during the mining years, prospectors routinely kept large dogs at their claim sites. Their logic was practical and brutal. A dog trained to attack strangers was cheaper than a guard and didn't need to be paid. Poor puppers, just doing their job. These animals were raised in isolation, socialized to aggression, and bound to a single purpose. When the gold played out and the miners packed whatever they could carry and left, the dogs didn't leave with them. Some were shot, some were chained to the rock walls near the mine entrances and just left there. Some were released into the canyon to fend for themselves in terrain that does not forgive. Their bones are still findable in the dark of the old shafts. Now, that's the whole part here where that's the history, okay? And it's deeper and more wild than you'd ever dream, because I was reading up on this town. It's just all kinds of craziness. But these dogs in particular supposedly are still there haunting the canyon, okay? Haunting these mines. Why? And that becomes the larger conversation, at least in my mind. I don't really know how you feel about it, but like I said, when we talk about the human spirit and souls and reincarnation and things like this, or human resonant energy kind of stuck to a spot, whether that's going to be traumatic energy or whether that's going to be some sort of ancestral energy like we were just talking about with James there, whatever that looks like. But in this case, with the animals, the dogs themselves, how does that land with you? Do you think there are, I don't know, reincarnation cycles of dogs? Do you think that traumatic, dog culling or something would cause something like this in other parts of the world? I don't know. I don't really know, but I got more of this to read, and there's other wild ideas to get to. But that's where we start tonight. That's where we're rolling. And do you think that dogs have a soul? Animals in general, but dogs in this case, man's best friend. Oh, so cute. Good boy. Sit. But beyond that, do you think that they're able to commingle? Now let's get real troubled mindsy. Let's say they do. Let's say dogs have souls. Let's, for sake of conversation, let's say that they're trained to guard these spots, these spaces, these old mines. They pass there horrifically because they're shot or left behind or chained to the wall to die in the desert. And the horrific end doesn't end because their watch continues. And that's why I'm calling it, of course, tonight, The Last Watch, summoning Eldorado, not like the fabled city of gold, but in this case, Eldorado being these old mines, these old mine spaces where supposedly they're still haunted by these packs of dogs. Now, do you think the spirits commingle? Do you think, is there such a thing as not just a collective consciousness here on Earth with people and, let's say, animals in general, but then something like Rupert Sheldrake's theories of, let's see, where I got the links here. I got all kinds of stuff here. There it is right there. Sheldrake.org. So dogs that know that when their owners are coming home and other unexplained powers of animals, things like this, right? So not like this morphic resonance or morphic field. And do you think that there's a commingling of such after they pass? I don't know. Like, there's a ton here. I got some more questions to talk about and think about, but I don't know. As I'm breathless here trying to get through it and fix the phone line. Anything to add to any of that, James? I'll read more of this and keep on trucking. There's a ton of stuff here.
Yeah, I wonder if because I think a lot of times in places where there's any kind of anomalous things going on, there's probably going to be a mix. I wonder if some of what happens there, especially with the guarding of the mines themselves of those particular spots, if that could be more residual energy fields, residual energy from the act, or from the act, and also from the creature, from the dog performing those acts, those duties, so to speak. There could be residual of that happening, but that's not to say that there can't also be sentience there. I think when you have any kind of animals that are literally heard chasing a car, when a car is a relatively new invention as far as fast-moving cars, that may indicate possibly more intelligence, but maybe not. I don't really know for sure. There are some cases where it seems obvious when something is residual, and other cases where it's not. And I think there's other cases where there's mixes of things. So, but yeah, with the dogs, I mean, like I said, I literally saw a ghost cat at my window, inside my apartment, coming home one day from errands, and I thought it was my cat, but I realized after, this cat was all white, and it walked behind the front door that I was just going to open, and of course I opened the door and nothing there. So yeah, I mean, and you hear about that with dogs all the time, coming back to sort of comfort their owners. Hear about that with dogs being in areas where they were known to be in life, and then they're still there for whatever reason after they passed on, sort of protecting the area, protecting people in the area, or chasing people out of an area. There is that too in rare cases.
Yeah, well said, all that. And it is, like I said, I don't know. When you look at this stuff, the different ways, the different hauntings certainly all play. But when you start to mix animals in, suddenly this becomes different, kind of different in the mind's eye. But is it, though? That really is the larger question here. When you're talking about metaphysics, you're talking about the soul, you're talking about life and death when people pass. You know, bardo states, do dogs have their own bardo states? Is there a karmic recycling of dog souls? You know what I mean? It sounds ridiculous to say it out loud like that, but you get my point. If this stuff is real for people, is it in some similar capacity real for animals? And I don't know, you know me, I don't like to kind of track down the dogma of any particular faith. And not, I don't like to dog it either. I think it's irresponsible to just be silly about that stuff, because it is ancient wisdom, and it's been written down and talked about and meditated on and considered for thousands of years in many cases in different parts of the world. So to me, you know, to be responsible as part of this in the conversation space, I think you kind of got to be like, okay, cool. Like, what do we know about it? And how much of it kind of fits into the narratives today, and not just that, let's say something like this. So I don't know. I think it is incredible to consider, but also I don't know where this leads, because like I said, if these old ghost towns certainly have their name from being haunted, these old ghost towns, not just because they've been left behind and sort of abandoned, but in this case with dogs, it suddenly becomes something else entirely. So I don't know. What do you know about it? Like I said, again, I'm calling this the Last Watch, Summoning Eldorado. We're talking about Eldorado Canyon in Nevada, southern Nevada, where they left these dogs chained to these mines, shot them, and just kind of left them to die when the gold mines dried up. And they say today those places are still haunted. What do you know about it? 702-857-6939 is the phone number. Don't call it because it's broken. But let's go to the Discord instead. Let's go to Jan in Missouri. What's going on? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Welcome.
Well, yeah, it's good to be here. So There's I can't remember the name of I think it's called Raytown. I'm not sure. I think it's actually called Dogtown. And it's located, it's either I think it's in Arkansas. You'd have to look it up. But it's the exact same story, essentially. And like, there's just a whole bunch of dogs that are reportedly haunting that. And I don't know the whole premise of the story, but it's another story that kind of reflects the same way as the same story you're telling right now. But I have another account too, a personal account that is really far in this instance. Is it? Did you put up? Do you know if it's in? I'm not sure where it's located.
How do you spell it? Is it R-A-Y? Just Raytown
it's
like that?
It's literally like, I think it's just Dogtown.
Oh, Dogtown. Okay.
Like Arkansas.
Got it.
I think it is.
Looking it up.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But anyway, so I lived in this apartment in a city nearby. It was nearby where I live now. And the apartment was an old Victorian home in an historic part of town, this neighborhood. It was like a 3-story Victorian that had been converted over into apartments. And there was a university there. So, that's just how they had divided up to these old houses. And next door to it was a house that was like a farmhouse, essentially, it looked like. It was like, I'm not sure what era, like what time period we're looking at. But so when I lived in that apartment, I always kind of had my eye on that house because it had a lot of people come and go from it, rent it, and move out in the course of time that I was renting that apartment. And right before, right after I moved into that apartment, I'd been living there for like just probably 4 or 5 months, at the time. And prior to that, I had lived in another apartment that was like downtown that was not far, probably a couple of blocks from that neighborhood, even so. And it was kind of just this neat neighborhood to walk around in. But there had been this girl that had lived in that house with a couple of roommates. And when I was living up in that apartment, reportedly from neighbors and things like that, they had told me that she had like several cats at one point. And I saw still some cats that were like hanging around that house. But she was some type of like she did some sort of amount of witchcraft or something to the effect of that. But one of her cats had died and she had tried to do some kind of ritual. She told me this weird story, but that she had tried to do some kind of ritual to put the soul of her dead cat into one of the alive cats. And so they said that after she had done that, or after they'd heard about her talking about doing that, all of those cats started to die. Now, it's really, I would think that there could be any number of reasons why those cats began to die. Maybe she wasn't taking care of them. Maybe there was some type of, they weren't getting their, getting their shots, or who knows. But they ended up moving out. And I talked to the landlord and rented that house and moved in. Like, first off, that house sat empty for a couple of weeks before I set up to rent it. But I was young, and some of my friends and I were like, having gone to view the house and everything and was going to be renting it soon. And I was like, yeah, I put a deposit down, but I want to go check it out. But I didn't have, I couldn't get in and everything. Don't judge. Anyway, so this was a long time ago. And so went over there to the house, and it was this old, weird house. And of course I could, the key that I had for the back door didn't work or something. Anyway, regardless, we climbed up and went to look inside the house because I only looked at it once prior to that. And so we went up and climbed through. I went up onto the roof. I climbed up onto the roof and went through the upstairs attic crawl window space. It was a really small vent window, and dropped into the attic of this old house and came to the crawl space. It was over one of the rooms, where the attic door would drop down. And I pulled back that. And the house is completely abandoned and empty and had been for a month or two. Pulled that back, and I was like trying to figure out how I'd drop down onto the floor and then open the door to let my friends in, because we believed this house was haunted. And so we were going to do like a EVPs and all this stuff, you know. And I was at the opening of that door, and I heard like from inside what sounded like something whistling. I could hear it really clearly, like a whistling sound from inside the house. And I wondered if somebody else had gotten in, but nobody had gotten into the house. I like stepped down from the opening in the ceiling into this room on top of the door, the top of the door that opens, you know, like on top of the door, and kind of angled and dropped to the floor into the room. And then the house was just like stuffy. It was in the middle of summer. And it was so weird. Like I was just walking around through there. And I went through and I turned on that EVP recorder thing and went and opened the back door. And we just kind of came in, being really quiet. Later on, and the house just felt weird. And later on that night, after we'd been in the house for a while and been recording and doing this, that, and the other, and there was stuff painted on the walls. They had painted graffiti and stuff on the walls in one of the rooms. And it was empty, completely empty. They took all the furniture and everything, so there was nothing in there. It was just empty, but it was like that. And the recording later on, when I was playing back the recording of the EVPs, I could hear an old man's voice calling out. Well, first I heard dogs barking, like hounds. It literally sounded like hound dogs, like this hound dog barking noise. I guess you'd call it bailing or bellowing. I don't know how, but anyway, it was baying. I think they call it baying. And it was very pronounced and obvious, but low, like radio static, you know, because it was white noise. And then there was this old man's voice, and he was like saying something like, you know, get him, or something like that, or sick him. It sounded like, that's what it sounded like, get him. And there was like these dogs barking on the EVP. So I moved into that house. And this house, actually, I've talked about many times on James's show. There was a room that had a fireplace in it, and it was like, it was my bedroom, but I never slept in there. Like I did a couple of times, but it was so creepy. But there was just, okay, so fast forward about a couple of weeks later, there was a knock on the door, and there was this man, and he said that he used to live in the house, and they had left some stuff under the floorboards in the living room. And I was like, what? That's crazy. I was like,
that's not creepy at all.
I was like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. You know, and he was like, can I come pick it up? You know, can I come in and get those? And I was like, yeah. And I had no idea that there could be something under the floorboards. Anyway, he came in and he pulled up the floorboard, like just pulled up, like put like a butter knife and like just kind of wedged it open and lifted up the floorboard. And in the crawl space under the floorboard were these like crystals and candles under the floor of my living room.
Not creepy at all. Not creepy at all. Tell me there's not like a ladder in a dungeon down there. Come on now.
It was like a foot, about a foot and a half, you know, like it was just like this little crawl space area underneath the floorboards. And then there was one day I was leaving for work, you know, like, you know, somewhere in this window of time when I first moved in. And someone had drawn a chalk line across the carport, like I had like it was like a carport with like a, you know, just not, you know, like just an over the top carport, not a full closed garage, but they had drawn a chalk line across my carport. Somebody had. And I just thought that was so weird. And I had so many different weird experiences and caught different EVPs in that house. And it was just kind of creepy in so many ways and haunted. Like, and there were so many different things that happened. I saw ice like jump out of a glass onto the table when we were sitting around the table. And like my drink glass, I don't actually, yeah, it was just my drink glass like in the front of the table. We were all just sitting there talking. And the ice just jumped out of my glass, like 2 or 3 cubes of ice of like just a normal, water glass. It was the weirdest thing. There were so many other things too, but one thing I remember, the very first thing I remember was that whistling. And beyond that whistling, there was also the dog barking noise.
Super weird. The ice coming out of the glass reminds me of that scene in Ghostbusters with the eggs popping out of the shells. There is no Dana.
It was
only
just
Zool.
like that, Mike.
It's wild.
It was
absolutely wild.
The strangest thing. Like I've never seen anything like it. And there were other things like that happened. And I had a roommate for a little while, and he was from Italy and from New York. And he had said that he saw like shadow figures like in his room, at times, and that there was a dog in that instance that seemed like it was sniffing around the bed. He told me that story. I don't know if it's true. I thought that was really weird. And it was the most bizarre thing, just so many things like that. And there are other ghost stories too, but I mean, I think it's on, the time or whatever, but.
All good. We go a little late there because we started a little late, so we got an extra time here. So we are going to take a break, but if you've got more, I'd love to hear. If you want to stay up, completely up to you. You tell me, and we'll take a quick break, listen to the news, and come back.
Sure.
We got
take
Michael
a break
W. online.
I have a few more.
Okay, sweet. Sweet. Okay, so we're going to get your take too when we come back on the haunting of animals. I think there's an important aspect to this because whether that is sort of a resonant energy, sort of a haunting wise for people. But I wonder how much of that kind of comes into play when you're talking about a pack of dogs or, sort of a hunting dogs or sniffing dogs, like this type of thing, the bloodhound aspect of things. And back to these dogs of the Last Watch and summoning Eldorado. Here with Jen and James. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Michael W. on the line. We'll get to him momentarily as well. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. Thanks for being patient with me as the time's all weird and everything's all weird because we started late, but none of the buttons are working. My buttons are cursed. James' buttons are cursed. So let's keep it to 2 and not make it 3. Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, if you want to be part of the conversation, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, pop on in here. I'll get the phone line fixed for next time. Don't worry. Everything has broken before, and we found a way to fix it. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Do not go anywhere. More in just a quick break. Be right back.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. A team of researchers from the University of Zurich and the University of Southern California has reported a significant breakthrough in stroke recovery science. Transplanted neural stem cells, derived from reprogrammed human stem cells, helped mice recover motor function after strokes by rebuilding damaged neural connections, restoring blood vessels, and maturing into functioning neurons. Notably, many of the transplanted cells became a type of inhibitory brain cell that is critically depleted after stroke. The findings suggest that timing of transplantation is key, with a 1-week delay after injury allowing the brain environment to stabilize enough for the cells to survive and integrate. Shifting now to social science, a large-scale study out of the University of Bath, drawing on data from more than 24,000 people in the United Kingdom, challenges a widely held assumption about intelligence and opportunity. Researchers found that while higher cognitive ability generally leads to greater trust in others, that link is significantly weakened for individuals who grew up in disadvantaged environments such as workless households or care settings. Professor Chris Dawson describes the pattern as a kind of compounding inequality, where early life hardship not only limits the development of cognitive skills, but also diminishes the social rewards those skills typically provide. The study frames this as part of a broader pattern where advantage continues to build on advantage across a lifetime. And finally, a new study published in the journal Aging is raising questions about a supplement ingredient found in everything from energy drinks to focus-enhancing capsules. Researchers from the University of Hong Kong and the University of Georgia analyzed genetic and health data from more than 270,000 individuals in the UK Biobank, finding that men with genetically higher levels of the amino acid tyrosine appeared to live nearly 1 year less on average. Tyrosine is widely promoted for mental performance and stress resilience due to its role in producing key brain chemicals, but the study suggests those same biological pathways may carry long-term costs. The effect was not observed in women, and researchers note the findings echo earlier animal studies linking amino acid restriction to extended lifespan. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? How you doing? Michigander. We got Richard in Texas. What's up, Joey Metaverse? Misty Moon is here. Good evening, Ioxy, to YouTube real quick. Hope you're well tonight. The real JB over on Rumble. Sooty. GR Hutch. How you doing? Hope everybody's well tonight. Let's go. Troubled Minds happening right about when I find the button. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. All the places, all the things. Phone lines down tonight if you want to be part of the conversation. Do not dial, but click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Tonight, I'm calling this The Last Watch, Summoning Eldorado, but we're talking about spirits. But not spirits like you'd think. We're talking about spirits of passed on animals. In this case, the Eldorado Canyon in southern Nevada actually is said to be haunted by dogs. Weird, right? Packs of dogs. How strange is this? And not just a singular, multiple, and they supposedly have been there on watch for a very long time. Why? Again, is this just folklore? Is it these stories we tell each other? As usual, look, I don't know. This is certainly a storytelling show. However, when so many of these accounts are so as widespread as they are and all the way back through history, it does make me wonder how much of this is actually meat on the bone, as they say. Love to hear your thoughts. I won't read the phone number because it's busted, but hang tight, James. Get to you in just a second. Back to Jen. Thanks for being patient. Real quick, before we get into more of the hauntings you got in that house, I appreciate you sharing those stories there. Do you think there is something to it, like a pack haunting? You think something like this sort of persists, like the EVP you described with the guy saying get him or whatever it was? Like, for instance, the dogs stick with him. You know, it's like a sort of communal spirit. Yes. Does that make sense?
I totally think so. I think that man had, like, back, in the day that he had these hunting dogs, I assume. And that this old farmer, because there's like a big old farmhouse, basically. And I do think that was the case. It was something completely unexpected. Like, even the whistling, I think, was involved with that. I mentioned that. I mean, I know that a lot of times people mention hearing whistling as a part of hauntings in general, but I think that could have been tied to that too. And the dogs too, I could hear like the bellowing hound dog-ish sounding bark of like a bunch of dogs. And they weren't like barking like normal. It was like hound dogs or something. And I've told this story, I think, at some point in the past, but that's what I heard. And I heard like an old man's voice, like saying that on the EVP. And then I wanted to mention another thing too. When I lived down in Arkansas, this was some years later, just another animal story. I had a beautiful dog. I had two. I still have one, but at the time I had these two beautiful dogs. And the first dog was a Pyrenees husky, and he was this pure white dog he was beautiful, and I named him Ghost, and he was the most beautiful, incredible dog. And I got him a mate. They were both fixed. They were just for companionship. And the other dog was a Malamute mix, and she was pure white too. And I had them both as like a pair, to be like friends, essentially, for each other, because he was really hyperactive and just a very wonderful dog. And sadly, just before I had to move from this separate house in Arkansas, he'd passed away. And I had to bury him there at that house where I had been living. I buried him underneath this cherry tree that I had recently planted there. And it was horrible, a horrific loss. And I moved out to the house where actually I started listening to this show out there in the country.
calling
And I
from
always
the
thought,
calling from the attic with the spider webs. I remember.
that's where I'm. Yeah. And in that house, it had 364 acres. And at the house in town where I'd moved from, I had looked at that house and was going to be moving there whenever he passed away. And I remember when I moved out there with the other dog, his mate, I remember looking out at the 364 acres of all those hay fields and a valley, and it had a big creek on it. I was, so sad for a while there that he would have loved just running around out there, And the other dog loved it, that they could just run loose like that, just because there was nothing out there except, just there were some coyotes and things like that. But, they could run completely with no fence or anything. And he would have just loved that because Pyrenees love to wander and husky, and he would have loved that. And there were some neighbors that were up the hill, and they were very nice and everything and liked dogs. They had dogs too. And they said, like, oh, we saw your dogs when I first moved in. And, you have said that I had 2 white dogs. They saw 2 white dogs coming up to their fence. And I was like, well, I have 1 white dog. And I said, I used to have 2 white dogs. But they said that I was like, oh, I thought you had 2 though. We saw 2. And it blew my mind. Now they never said that again, but they said that they saw 2 white dogs. And these were very obvious animals, both of them. Very big, white, fluffy dogs, so very obvious. So they would have said 1 for sure. I would have not thought anything of that. But that they saw 2 really was so strange. And I wondered if I don't know, but
so maybe
they saw her twice. But they looked different.
But maybe the very good boy got to roam those beautiful fields anyway. I love that. That's a fantastic story. Yeah. Yeah, and which again sort of brings us to that idea of the pack. Do we return to the pack? And I think this gets at the heart of like the ancestral spirit as well. When you're passing on as a Viking and put the sword to my chest, I'm returning to my ancestors. This type of thing. I kind of wonder if there's sort of this communal spirit that we do return to in that capacity, and maybe the dogs are there too. Maybe the cats are there too. I mean, the squirrels and the pigeons and the raccoons. Like, who really knows? Like, how weird does it get?
I do believe that people do, to some degree, just like the spirits of, friends. I do think so. I don't think it's constant. I think it's a similar scenario. I mean, I've heard of people having, repeated animal huntings where they notice cats and things like that. I mean, I've shared the experiences I've had and things and stories I've heard, in this case, but yeah, so I don't know, but I do see no reason with the sentience too. It's obvious in all of these different creatures that I think it would explain a lot of the bizarre hauntings people do have, actually, if it was an animal haunting. Many of the hauntings people describe, I think, could be the hauntings of animals, and I've always thought that's possible. The same with possession too. I think that some people have become possessed by animals, especially in stories I've heard, from South America and Europe, these weird possession stories where it seems almost like there's animalistic tendencies or something. And in voodoo, I've heard of that too, like of switching out. And they've portrayed it in movies. But there was a book that I found, and I actually read this off on one of my channels directly from the book. I don't remember what the book was called now. I'd have to look it up again. But in it, they did a sort of cleansing of a young woman, and they brought a goat in that had like its horns decorated with ribbons and bells, this whole weird chanting thing, and there was this drumming and all of this, and the woman, and it was the strangest thing, like when they killed the goat, they killed they sacrificed it was this weirdest thing. I don't really want to explain it because it's so strange, but maybe another time, but they said that the woman began to, like the goat, and the goat seemed to have the intelligence of the woman in that moment right before that sacrifice. And it was like a switching over of sentience. And it was to, I don't remember what the reasoning for it was, but after that, she came to herself and there was this whole, but that was the ritual. It was actually transferring the consciousness between these two, which is just really strange story,
Super weird. Yeah. That type of ritual kind of makes me go, And this has been happening for thousands of years all over the world.
Sure.
Absolutely makes me go,
Yeah.
Anything for Jen James while we got around here?
Yeah, it's good to hear from you, Jen, again. And I've had persistent experiences with the cat, so I do believe that they can be around, and it's not always tied to the person that they appear to, but sometimes it is. That's amazing, though, about your dog, the neighbors seeing the dog, and I've heard similar accounts before of that, so that's really amazing. It's always good to hear sort of accounts from people that are like other accounts from people, because then it makes you wonder. It makes you think maybe there is something more to things.
Yeah, it just made me terribly emotional when they said it. I had to stifle it down. No, you did not, But mentally, I was thinking that to myself. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me. You guys have a good night.
Thanks for the call. You're the best. Let it be a lesson. If you're a very good boy in this life, maybe, just maybe, you get to be a very good boy in the fields of Valhalla or Elysium or whatever it is. I love that. Appreciate the experience and the tale there. And this is like I said, this is not an isolated thing. This is something that goes back a very long time. So what do you know about it? We're talking sort of animal consciousness, the spirit of animals. Again, I'm calling this The Last Watch, Summoning Eldorado, which is just this tale of the Eldorado Canyon here in southern Nevada, an old mining place where they left the dogs to die when the gold dried up. And these poor dogs were trained to be, ruthless and mean and all the rest of it. But now the stories remain that they are there, still guarding these places and haunting the canyon with which they were left to die. Weird, right? How weird does it get? That's the question. 702-857-6939 is the number to call, except it's broken, so don't call that right now. Instead, click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thanks for being patient, friends. Let's go to Michael W. What's up, man? Welcome back to Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
Good. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. You sound great.
Oh, good. I'm down to one earbud here. The other one just died. But anyway, yeah, I loved Jen's story about the ghost farmer with his pack of hounds. There's a lot of people that have those around here where I live. You see them all over the place. But I guess I just wanted to share my experience with this subject as far as, to put it simply, dogs having souls. I think I've probably been vocal in the past about how I kind of get the feeling that everything has some kind of I'd call it a consciousnness, but from my perspective, it's the same thing that other people call a soul, whatever it is that makes us an individual that we perceive as ourselves, kind of separate from the rest of the universe. I kind of think on some level, everything has some sort of consciousness. We all know about the science they've done about how plants seem to perceive danger. And I've learned a lot about how things kind of work in the forest, as far as how there's massive networks underground of fungal mycelium that seems to interact with plants, and they seem to, for some reason, help each other. And a lot of people have explored the idea of that being a form of consciousness. Some people kind of compare it to the internet, but I think of it as some kind of a conscious field. And I just, the other day, my oldest child took me to a movie. They took me to see the new movie, The Hail Mary Project. And I won't spoil anything, but there's, Ryan Gosling plays the main character, and he's a scientist, and he writes a dissertation about the fallacy of the Goldilocks zone. And his perspective is that it's possible that life can exist in other states of being, we think of life as needing water to exist. So it has to be on a planet that's the same distance from the sun as we are. And that's how we perceive life. But his argument was that it's possible that there could be other forms of life that we're just too ignorant to know about yet, that can exist in other environments and be made out of other things. And that's kind of an idea that I've always related to. And I guess my point is that the idea that on some level, everything is conscious. And so I've always felt like my dogs have a soul. I've always been a dog person. I don't have them anymore just because I can't really handle the heartache of when they go away. But I think it's possible, is it the Hindu idea that there's many cycles of reincarnation and individual souls live many different lives and cycle through different states of being, whether you're a blade of grass or an ant or a mouse or a bird, and oh wow, now I'm a person, maybe that's true. So yeah, maybe everything has a soul. Or
let me interject real quick, or gets a taste of a soul, of whatever the larger soul consciousness is. And I like to believe this too, like, in the aspect of a reincarnation, that there is a larger ancestral soul out there. And, when we're born or when, reincarnated, or however you want to look at this, we kind of take a cup of that, and it kind of fits who we are to start. And then, kind of it builds our demeanor with the nature, the nurture, and all the stuff we always talk about. But also I've got this other article, I'm not going to take you the rest of your time here, but that we are predisposed like an operating system when we're born. Our brains as babies are more full than we're given credit for. It's not a blank slate whatsoever. And so anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So my experience with pets in general, I guess, I've had a lot of pets that I was very close to. And this sort of thing, I don't know if I've talked about this in the past, but I've always struggled with sleep in general. It's I've always had a hard time getting to sleep when I'm supposed to sleep and staying awake when I'm supposed to be awake. And I seem to dwell in that place between sleep and awake, as you're falling asleep, when you're not quite asleep all the way, but you're not awake anymore either. I seem to spend a lot of time in that place. And there was a period of time in my life where I noticed this thing happening where I would be in that place and I would perceive an entity come into the room. And it was in the form of what I guess I would call a light being. They were like this sparkly blue light. And some of them were in the shape of people, and they would stand in the doorway or they would sit on the bed beside me. And it was always a very benevolent feeling. It was never scary or anything like that. But there were times when it was a dog that would hop up onto the bed and lay down beside me, or a cat. I would feel pressure, like a cat jumped on my bed, and then I would think, wait a minute, I don't have a cat. And this is, I think I've talked about this before too, where I'm not seeing this with my physical eyes. Maybe my eyes are closed, but I guess maybe it's my third eye or whatever, my pineal gland or something. It's perceiving kind of all three dimensions around me. And that's what I'm seeing these beings with. And they just hop up onto the bed and curl up and lay down beside me. And it would kind of give me a comforting, safe feeling. And that makes me think that it was my dog that I grew up with. I mean, I just got the feeling that this was my dog that I had from the age of 11 to 25 that was my best friend, that was the most devastating thing in the world when she passed away. And the same thing with this cat this sparkly blue cat being that laid down beside me. Oh, this is my cat Finnegan who died. He's back. And I would just, I mean, I can never say for sure, yes, that's exactly, I know for sure that's what it was, but I sure do believe that that's what it was. And I guess that's my experience with the dogs having souls thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's what's up. Ioxy says in the chat here. Let me scroll up. It says every living thing has a soul. Why is that hard to believe? And I don't think for this group it's probably too hard to believe. I think it becomes a little more complicated when like how does that play out? I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, you know. As they say, right? All dogs go to heaven, and I believe that. I do believe that. But I love dogs to the end there. They're and I have two devastating losses in the last, several years here with, my first two dogs are just incredible. And I lost them both within a year of each other. It's one of those things that I agree with you, man. Like the love you get from them is just so immense, so unending. And then it ends. It's, it is a shot to the gut when you lose a pet like that. It is just the absolute worst. And I don't know, right? Like in terms of souls, I don't know. I'd like to think they're out there, maybe waiting to come back, maybe this type of stuff. And again, maybe it's just humans being hopeful or, dreaming of this nostalgia space where we came from, or, the love that we should have today that we don't because the dog is moved on or whatever. I mean, look, there's a lot of ways to look at it and a lot of ways to consider it cope or remembrance or any of these other things. But I do wonder, right? Like if there is that ancestral spirit the dogs dip from when these puppies are born again. I don't know. It's weird, man. It's also weird. And that's why we talk about it in this space. Fire Stuff. Appreciate it very much. What else you got?
Yeah. And where I think this gets complicated is what form souls take when they're no longer here. And I think at least from my perspective as a human with the mind that I have, I think, like you said, our souls come from somewhere, maybe from a greater thing. And we're just like a little scoop from that greater thing that came here and turned into a human or whatever for this lifetime. But what were we when we were part of that greater thing that our soul came from? And do we go back to that thing? And hey, if we go back to that thing, then it doesn't make sense that the dog's still a dog after it's dead. Well, I don't think the concept necessarily has to be limited in that way. I think with my brain and the way I'm able to perceive reality, that's how I interpret it. As this thing that's coming back to visit me is in the form of my dog, and maybe that's the shape it takes to give me comfort, or maybe that's just the default pattern that my mind recognizes from the original soul DNA of that entity that's coming back to visit me. So my brain automatically interprets it that way, but really it's just this pure soul material, whatever that is, when it's on the other side. And I've had experiences where I left my body and went to that place and mingled with these other souls of people that are still alive here, but we're also still in that other place. And from my perspective, we appeared to be human. But I don't think necessarily that's the case. Maybe we go back to whatever that pure energy that's a form of energy that we can't even conceive of from our human minds is. But I don't think it necessarily has to, we don't need to put those rules in place where, if it's no longer a dog, then how could it be a dog? I don't know if I'm making sense with that, but
yeah, no, anyway. Making a ton of sense. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's basically that universal collective unconscious that we all are part of, and look, the weird thing is like, you can go, come on guys, this is ridiculous. This is metaphysical mumbo jumbo nonsense. Yeah, it's cool. Like I get that take on this stuff, but also, by the way, there's this new thing called OR, which is quantum consciousness, and that our microtubules in our brain are literally tuned into something greater, to that greater aspect of what the universe really is. So, I mean, it's still, the jury's out on that, but still, it is one of those things that kind of some people are like, nah, it ain't like that. But some people are like, I don't know, there's some legs there. And it's again, done by this anesthesiologist known as Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose, or the look it up, quantum consciousness. It'll blow your mind. And maybe, just maybe,
That becomes the wild part of this, and that's why we talk about it together. You're the best, brother. What else you got?
That's all I've got for tonight. Thank you for having me on. I love you guys.
Glad to have you. Thanks. Welcome back. We've missed you. You were the best. Appreciate you very much, and have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. We'll see you. Bye.
Take care. Michael W. My White like the Ghost on Discord. Please come meet these amazing people. They are more amazing than they are on the show, like I said, because I tell them when to talk and not to talk and interrupt them for breaks and all this other stuff. Please join the Discord. Come meet Michael and James and Jen and all these amazing people that make this show go. That's the whole point of this, is building networks and talking to each other outside of the framework of the mainstream media. We are fully independent. Nobody tells me what to think or what to say. I'm here just talking with my homies by dark of night. Shout out Penny Bunny. Look, Penny Bunny has not been here in forever. You know what's wild? I'm not kidding you. Like 2 days ago, I went and checked out Penny Bunny's channel. I was like, well, I wonder where she's been. I hope she's okay. Like literally it's been so long since we've had any kind of contact whatsoever. And I just, thought about you the other day, popped on the channel. It's like, okay, still making stuff, still doing good. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure, right? You get worried when you don't hear from people that you've had contact with. And there's Penny Bunny in the chat. Yeah. Wild, right? Wild. Yeah. And sorry to hear about your tooth. That really sucks. Wisdom tooth surgery. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. James, anything to add? We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Looks like we got the Night Stalker, and Kelly, you're welcome. We'll make some time for you if you want to jump in here as well. Lots of things in play, and we're talking animal souls, the quantum consciousness, how this fits together. I don't know. Anything to add there, James? And then we'll take a quick break.
Yeah, I something that Ricky over at Anything Is Possible and I talk about all the time is we feel like at this point it's not just is it this or is it that? It's everything. Everything is what people have experienced. I want to say too, the funny thing about the cat on the bed, I can tell when it's the ghost cat versus when it's Logan jumping on the bed, because I never feel the ghost cat jump on the bed. I just feel them walking around on the bed, and it starts, and then it stops, and there's no jumping on or off, which is quite the wild thing to experience.
Especially the cat that doesn't look like your cat. In a room, in a space, in an apartment where you didn't let any other cats in. Like, we start to get weird places, right? Fire stuff. You're the best, brother. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We're here with James Salcedo tonight. I didn't say it. I was remiss. Please go give Jen a follow as well. Thank you for the call, Jen. TroubledMinds.org. Click the friends link /friends, scroll down and follow Jen right there. Link is in the description down below. You can do all the things, and please, let's help our friends. That's what this is about. It's about ideas. It's about people. It's about wondering about the wider questions of the cosmos itself. 702-857-6939 is the number. Don't call it because it's broken. Click the Discord link. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up. More from James. Kelly, if you want to get in here, you're definitely welcome. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Let's check the news. A remarkable development out of South Korea, where researchers at a major university there have unveiled a contact lens capable of treating depression by delivering precise electrical signals through the retina directly to mood-regulating regions of the brain. Published in the journal Cell Reports Physical Science, the study found that after 3 weeks of daily 30-minute sessions, depressed mice showed a 47% increase in serotonin levels, a 48% reduction in stress hormones, and restored neural connectivity between key memory and decision-making regions of the brain. Machine learning models consistently classified the treated mice alongside healthy controls, performance on par with the active ingredient found in common antidepressant medications. The lead researcher called it an entirely new frontier of treating brain disorders through the eye. Turning to a troubling finding in microbiology, new research published in the journal Frontiers in Microbiology suggests that the world's most widely used weed killer may be accelerating the spread of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Scientists in Buenos Aires tested hospital strains of drug-resistant bacteria and found that every single one also demonstrated strong resistance to the herbicide and related products. Researchers warn that if these bacteria escape hospital environments through wastewater, agricultural areas saturated with the chemical could become breeding grounds for dangerous superbugs. Antimicrobial resistance already contributes to an estimated 1.4 million deaths annually worldwide. And in a significant privacy story with civil liberties implications, the Department of Justice has issued subpoenas to Apple, Google, Amazon, and Walmart demanding the personal information of at least 100,000 users of a car modification app called EasyLink Auto Agent. The Department of Justice's case against the company, which is based in the Cayman Islands, centers on alleged Clean Air Act violations involving so-called defeat devices that disable vehicle emissions controls, charges the company denies. Privacy advocates and Fourth Amendment attorneys are calling the sweeping data demands a dangerous overreach, and both Apple and Google are reportedly planning to fight the subpoenas in court. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. Hope everybody's well tonight. Shout out Penny Bunny. I hope your actual tooth is relieved soon. Like I said, weird, super weird, because I'm not kidding. I just checked on your channel a couple days ago. I'm like, I haven't heard from her. I hope she's well, etc. So on. Here's Penny Bunny popping in the chat. The Curious Buddy on Discord there. Give her a follow. Links actually linked at the bottom of the YouTube channel. Scroll down. It says follow Penny here. Follow Penny Buddy. What's up? Hope everybody's well tonight. Just doing Troubled Mind stuff, hanging out, and yeah, weird synchronicities happen all the time, right? Unfortunately, it's because of a toothache. That sucks. What is up, Gaston, Dragon Rose? What's up, Satya, Lunging Mule, Herschel? We got Daryl. What's up, David on the road? David 87. We got Michael W. Thanks for the call. Jen, thanks for the call. We got Matsal, APOC, Chef Pete, and Karen. Rocks indeed. And Real JB, Theo. I see you guys. If I missed anybody in the chat, just say hi and I'll say hi back. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. And let's see, did I miss anybody? MJN01XV, how you doing? Good evening. Hello, Stephen England. All right, here we go. Trouble Minds happening. Sylvain Sweets. Here we go. Let's do it. Meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. All the places, all the things, yada yada, troubledminds.org/friends. Help our friends in all the places. Click the Discord link, follow the news, the Substack newsletter, like all that stuff is free. Free. Did I mention it's all free? Let's help each other. That's what this is all about. Thanks for hanging out and being part of this tonight. Look, we started tonight with this weird tale. Like I was just driving around Southern Nevada, which I'm telling you is an amazing place. If you ever get a chance to visit and just spend a week or 10 days or a couple weeks, just drive around these ghost towns and the Clown Motel we talked about recently. Just wild stuff down here. And I've lived here for long enough that I'm ashamed that I'm just discovering a lot of this stuff now. But I found this place called Eldorado Canyon, all right? An old gold mining town, Nelson, Nevada, okay? And they train these dogs to be mean and to guard their gold stakes and all the rest. But then when the gold dried up, they left the dogs there to die, shot them in some cases, just left them chained to the wall, released them to the desert. You know, it is a horrific thing. But the weird part about that is that there's a trauma space there in the dog world, okay? Just again, kind of breaking the metaphysical space away from the human psyche and the human consciousness and the human spirit. But in this case, those dogs supposedly, again, believe it or not, exist in the folklore record as maybe haunting these mines still. Trauma, sacred space, pack consciousness that will not leave. What's going on here? Dog purgatory? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I think when you try to find these things, it sounds more and more ridiculous. But I think when you think about them in the abstract sense, I think some of this does make a lot of sense. Anything to add, James? We'll go to Derek in Massachusetts.
Well, just real quick. So I've heard of all these apparitions of pets that have passed on that are there and then they're gone. I've also heard of what appears to be the reincarnation of pets. In other words, they act the same way. A new pet will act the exact same way as the last pet did. And the person gets a feeling like this is, my dog Spot, whatever their name is, that has come back somehow. So that's why I say, to me, all this is, all the possibilities, all the things are probably happening, because there's just so many things that happen. But again, that's just to me.
You're allowed, man. Hey, James, this is your world too. All right, this is your world too. Appreciate it very much. You want to be part of the conversation? Do not call the phone line, which is typically, I'll say it for the future shows where it is working, 702-857-6939. Otherwise, click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this.
What's going on, Brutus?
Derek in Massachusetts. Thank you very much. So nice talking. How you doing, my man? Thanks for popping in here and being patient. You are on Troubled Minds. You win the fabulous prize of absolutely nothing. Come on down. Lots of things in play here. What do you know about this? I'm nearly like, if you know about this canyon that I live near and I don't know anything about, I'm going to be shocked. But I think you're on the game of the larger metaphysical space here. But what do you got? Tons of ways to take this, and love to hear. Welcome to the thing.
Yeah, it's Grisho. I never heard about these things. The hellhounds of Eldorado, of a Eldorado, I guess you would call it in some instances. The first thing I wrote down was all dogs go to heaven, and you just mentioned it a minute ago. There's a big VHS we played over and over again back in the house. We had no dog growing up, and I always wanted one. And then we got one when I was like 10-ish. Maybe, honestly, I'm not sure, but we had it for like 20 years. My mom's dog, and Jake, and he died a few years ago, and it was absolutely brutal. And especially towards the last few years, like I was taking care of him a lot, and I really bonded with him a lot. It's absolutely brutal. And I see any sad dog stuff on TV, I'm just losing it. So the idea of dogs having a soul, I definitely think they have a soul. So I think that like literally all dogs go to heaven, and if a dog dies, they're whether it's human heaven or what the deal is. I mean, if they're bonded with a person, I would imagine that they will want to spend the afterlife together. So you would think that it would be a shared heaven, but just even if the dog is raised to be a bad dog, I mean, it's not a bad dog. It doesn't need to suffer any negative karma. So whatever happens to us after we die, I think it's going to be good for the dogs. Just put that out there.
Stop
just in general.
Stop talking about my little Luna. Bad girl, bad dog. Sorry, go ahead.
But dogs as like human companions, like I'm not a huge cat person. I'm allergic. My mom's allergic. So when I talk about cats, it's more tongue in cheek. It's more like a kind of antagonistic, but I also think cats are really cute. And if my eyes wouldn't get red, I would be petting them all the time. I like cats, but they have more of seemingly like an independence. They have maybe a different type of soul than dogs do. And if they might all have a different type of soul than us, or probably it's all a similar soul, just incarnating into different types of vessels, different types of filters. Like it's all white light going through that dark side of the moon triangle, which is the prism, which is us, like each individual, or a cat or a dog or a bug or a tree or an alien or whatever the case may be. And then the rainbow that comes out is a different experience. It's the dog life, it's the cat life, it's the human life, yada, yada. But like cats kind of have seemingly some kind of like independence, or they like us, but it's kind of a begrudging arrangement. It's more like if they were giant, I would feel much less safe around them than I would a dog per se. Like I'm not worried to put a cliff of the big red dog type of thing. Whereas dogs seemingly they're dumber for sure, and they seem to need us, and we bred them to need us. And humans couldn't have like populated the entire planet without dogs. We couldn't have gone to like cold climates without dogs. We couldn't have done a lot of human stuff without dogs. Like they're part of us. We bred them to be part of us, and they can be bred in one generation, and we bred them to need us. We bred them to like be part of us. So I feel like to abandon them would be the ultimate trauma. And it would kind of be like maybe like a piece of them is missing, or if they kind of they almost seem like a soul outside of the body. And there's a book that was turned into an HBO show called His Dark Materials, which I've only seen the first couple episodes of. But they have something called a daemon, which is basically like a companion, a guide in the shape of an animal that everyone gets in their childhood, and it stays with them forever. And if they die, something really bad happens to the person or whatever. But it's basically wearing their soul, wearing their like guardian angel kind of just outside their body in the form of an animal. And it almost seems like what dogs are. So that maybe like a ghost dog is almost like a version of a soul fragment kind of left behind of a person. It's kind of like, I don't know, I'm rambling. What do you think about that? I got more stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I like I was saying, it's weird how we do draw these lines of consciousness, of soul, of, sort of passing on. But then also, many stories echo the sentiment of that human resonant energy, but in the dog world and the cat realm and this type of stuff. I mean, it is weird how all of this does come together. And I don't know, man, I think like the fact that you are more of a dog person, but never had dogs like that.
I kind of think
I did have a dog. I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, you did. Okay,
yeah.
Later on. Okay, you're talking about younger. Okay, I'm just saying, like all this is a very strange thing to me. But then think about it too, like the animals that don't get the credit they deserve. You know, like we've recently talked about raccoons and pigeons. You know what I mean? Like, do they have souls too? Because they're like the rats of the sky or whatever. I've heard them called that. I mean, I don't know. It just gets more and more weird when you talk about the animal kingdom. And like I brought up elephants, the memory of an elephant. Hey, if you want to bawl your eyes out, go watch like an elephant documentary. Like I promise you, by the end of it, you'll be crying like crazy. Like they remember everything from when they're like a baby. Like if they've seen like the human handler when they were a brand newborn, and they see them like 30 years later. These elephants just run to them so happy, crying and hugging them and stuff. And then I'm crying, and then we're all crying. Don't do it. Just don't do it unless you're in the mood for it. Anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. Yeah, like, when I was really little, we always like wanted a dog growing up. We did like, then probably when I was like 13 or like a teenager, we got my dog Jake, and we had him for like close to 20 years. And he died a few years ago, but he was like my mom's dog primarily. So she really, really misses him, but she's like a little too thick to get a new dog. So it's kind of a tough, like every time she sees a dog on TV, it's a really rough thing. And I've been getting her like, the dog Jake was a pug dog. So she loves pugs, and there's pugs all over the house and stuff. And like memorabilia, and I just got her like these pug comic books the other day that she just can't get enough. But she's calling all her friends like, "Oh, did you see this pug? It's like Conan the Barbarian riding a giant pug. It's the funniest." Yada yada. Loved it. It's anything pug related. But it's for her. It's almost like an imaginary friend that you just put all of your love in, or the way we talk about like dolls kind of waking up or gaining sentience, or some kind of spirit inhabiting an anthropomorphic doll that is lifeless. It has no soul in it. If maybe some kind of animism might be happening, like some kind of like everything having some kind of consciousness, but as far as like how we perceive a soul, it's an inanimate object. But a dog is a sentience. It does like have a consciousness that's clearly moving without us, but we just put so much love onto it. That's gotta matter. That's gotta matter. Whether it's, I don't know, it has to matter. But it like reminds me of the black dog mythology. Kind of weird, like all over the world. I have a list, but I won't read it. But this is different names for them and stuff. But all over the world, there's just people see black dogs like on the highway and stuff, or just it's perceived as an omen or some kind of like portent or whatever. It's not necessarily associated with a living dog, but the phenomena of the black dog is a big thing. But then it reminds me kind of, or like in this instance in particular, it reminds me maybe some kind of like stone tape theory thing, or some kind of like the formless pre-thought thought form type of thing, some kind of formless thing that I think wears the trauma that's left, that's scarred on a place. Like it kind of wears the stone tape, like the recording that's left in that stone tape theory type of thing. It's like some kind of energy that's residual left around, and it wears that to do the hauntings, or it wears that to be seen and to engage with whoever comes around afterwards. Maybe the most traumatic thing that happened in that location would be a dog to be chained up and abandoned. That's hellish. That's really dark. It's really a dark thing. So some kind of the phenomena wearing the trauma of the dogs, maybe more so than the dogs actually like being left there. But then it also kind of when you're talking about the dog, like I think I missed the beginning when you said the dogs are chained up, and then when you mentioned the chains, I was like, damn, that is dark. And what if it's a scenario where, because of the mines, so these people were like in the mines, they were digging, and we talked about mines before, like there's that podcast, The Old Gods of Appalachia, where it's like the audio drama of like the Appalachian Mountains being kind of the oldest landmass on the planet, and when we dug underneath it, we awoke something that's been there for longer than humanity, that type of deal. That when we dig into the marrow of the earth, we sometimes unlock things that aren't supposed to be unlocked. So the people dig in, they get to a certain spot, open something up, and all of a sudden you have this force that comes barreling out, starts possessing people, starts doing crazy stuff. Maybe one of the things later on is like the serial killer that was around who got possessed by some kind of fragment or whatever. But it caused some kind of crazy horror movie scenario, and it wouldn't let these people escape. And the only way that like to get all the people out of there is like, all right, we gotta leave some kind of vessel behind. We gotta chain these dogs up so these entities can possess the dogs, and we'll run out of there. Like I don't understand why chain the dogs. Like it seems like you either don't want to kill them, so you chain them up and abandon them, and that's a really sad way for them to go, starving to death or whatever, or you just shoot them. and I don't understand the point of painting them up too.
I mean, this is the thing that's happened in modernity as well as antiquity, of course, but you see it like in hurricane season, some of these places, it's the wildest thing I've ever seen. Like, you got your dog in the car, you're driving down the highway or whatever, and they will stop, pull the dog out of the car, and then tie it to like something on the side of the road, and then just keep on driving. And the water's rising and the dog's dying. And I mean, this happens every year just about. I mean, the people out there in hurricane territory, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see these stories and you're like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, would it kill you? Would it absolutely kill you to just keep the dog with you until, you know, whatever happens? I know everybody's scared, but really? Like, I mean, I know. For crying out loud. I mean, it's a thing, man. It's a thing. It is horrific. It is absolutely horrific.
And and I think it's a generational thing too. I think like as we're getting like back in like we talked about before with Star Wars and how back in the 70s they didn't give Chewbacca the medal and stuff, and now and then fast forward to the sequels and Chewbacca gets the medal because different generations feel differently about dogs, and the concept of an outdoor dog that you just leave outside and dog houses outside was like maybe a remnant, I remember, kind of in the early 90s from like kind of the hillbilly family that lived next door type of thing. But it was always like, why are you leaving your dog outside and stuff? But it was a kind of a commonplace back in the day. And then now it's like, I work the pet aisle, one of my aisles. I mean, people spend more on their dogs than they do on themselves and everything. Like we treat animals with much more reverence than we did back in the day. It's got some kind of trajectory there, but it's just like, so in my mind, definitely bring the dog, keep the dog, but just at the very least, put the dog out of its misery and stuff. And it reminds me of just like, I don't know, some type of, like dogs feel like they're being abandoned when you go out to work, like, and you come back and you come back every day and they should know you come back. But like a true abandonment paired with their like, I don't know, it just seems like a really dark thing to do. It seems like a really demonic thing to do.
Big time.
So that trauma would, sorry, what?
No, big time, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
My dog actually knows when I'm going to come. Like, I'm on a timer. Like, I pull up, my dog is out there like waiting for me. Well, I got a little dog run on the side where, you know, a little dog door in the whole bit. So she's got her whole space, but she's like literally standing there waiting for me, staring at the window. When I pull up, I'm like, oh, there she is. Little shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So part of that has to be like the routine. You might come home at a similar time, but I'm sure it might happen if you come home at a random time too. And there's some kind of like, I mean, we use dogs and cats as spiritual guides and spiritual like guards and all that type of stuff. That's why they're paired with that type of mythology, because they can see through the veil and they're connected to some type of metaphysics that we aren't, whatever. But also, for like, the dog has such a amnesia and like just how dogs' brains work or whatever. But I can be like driving in the car. I drive really crazy routes, like I'm smoking stuff or whatever, just in the back roads and stuff. I like to cruise around. So this dog should have no idea where we are, but we're getting a certain distance away. He stands up, he gets ready, he knows, he can sense that we're in the location, which is his home. He's tuned into something else. And especially when it's connected to the owner, like when it's you is paired with, so you're coming home, so he gets up and gets all excited because he can feel you. That seems like it's a part of your soul. It's a soul outside of your body. So it's some type of like, I don't know, like some kind of soul fragment type of thing that we leave behind or gets left behind, or I don't know, it's dark. But so with the so what if like the reason they chained it up, so you said like it's because it was left as like how Jesus cast the demons into the pigs or whatever, that they needed to leave some type of vessel behind so that they could escape that area, you know, that they needed to house these entities and stuff. And then that just reminded me of because it's mines and because it's gold and stuff, the story about dragons guarding gold. Maybe that's less of a literal dragon guarding gold, which I'm open to, and it could be. But maybe it's the idea that there's some type of phenomena, some type of like entity that exists kind of around these gold veins in the earth, or just around the element of gold and stuff. So when you get into the mines, you get into the reason why these mines are haunted and stuff is because when you get around this substance buried deep in the earth, you awake whatever entity it is that's around that substance and stuff. You know, so maybe like it awoke the dragon, and the dragon started running amok and possessing people and eating people, or possessing people and causing evil and stuff. So they're like, okay, here's like not just a sacrifice, but just like wrap them inside these dogs. I'm rambling, and the truck just pulled up, so I'm getting distracted. I got to go in and take care of that.
You're good.
But
Yeah,
All right, later, guys.
You're absolutely the
Thank
best.
you.
Appreciate the call. Go slay that truck. You know we love him. Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker. Yeah, a lot of ways to look at this. That's the whole point. Please give him a follow. Look, help our friends. That's what this has always been about. It's about ideas. It's about getting together, talking about things. Look outside of dogma cycles, like I called them that. And like I said, I'm not trying to be sacrilegious when I say those things. I'm trying to say, look, there's a lot of things out there. Like I've said in the past, look, the Bible's a good book, maybe the best book. Okay, whatever. Like you decide on that. But there's also a lot of other books out there. So let's think about this. Let's consider these ideas. Let's wonder what all of the world brings us, all of the cosmos brings us. And tonight we're talking these dogs that were left, kind of left for dead at the mine they were guarding in life, and supposedly still haunting these old Nevada mines. Anything to add, James? We'll go to looks like Daryl and MJ in Virginia.
No, just yeah. I think there's something to all the connections between us and animals, and I mean, when you're not in a physical form, I don't think we can know how all that works just yet. And while we're in that physical form, but there's so many reports of animals, lights, and their apparitions sort of changing to and from human to animal, back and forth here and there. I do get that. A great call so far tonight, as always. I do get that when Michael W. called and talked about feeling that it might be their pets. That's something that you can't. No one else can know except for you if you're having that experience. And I've had that with visitations from loved ones, so I get that as well. I think that's all I have for now.
Yeah, I've got a philosophical musing I came up with today. It's maybe too late in the show to bring that up, but maybe I'll end with that. But let me hear your thoughts. Thank you, James. By the way, follow Night Stalker, Derek the Night Stalker. You know me, love him. He's a grocer. The Stalks by Dark of Night, STOCK. Night Stalker, troubledminds.org/friends, or click the friends link, scroll down. It's under N. Follow Night Stalker. It's a YouTube channel. It's free. Let's go follow the man and inspire him to make more content and talk about these ideas more, because he's brilliant. Look, to me, the mark of a brilliant mind is being able to kind of see things from different angles all the time. That's the way I try to emulate. Look, I wouldn't even say I'm good at it. I try very hard to be good at it, but try hard doesn't mean you're good at stuff. But I think if you can look at things differently and be malleable enough in your mind space to kind of consider them and then adopt them into a coherent narrative, to me, that's super smart. Derek, the man, go give him a follow. Derek the Night Stalker, troubledminds.org/friends. Click Night Stalker. Go follow his YouTube channel. Like I said, it is completely free. Thanks for being patient, friends. Let's go to Daryl in New York. What is going on? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Please tell me there's no echo tonight. This is your echo, not mine.
I think I fixed it. If you think I did I?
Yes, no echo tonight.
Okay.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
I know what I got to do. I'm totally prepared now. Okay, great.
All right. Pro is pro.
Great calls, great shows. Really enjoyed it. I was thinking, I just have a few things to mention. You know how dogs and cats, they kind of pick you. I think I agree with you. You're their human, right? That's how you pick a good animal will actually pick you. You don't really pick it. I just wanted to mention again, you've heard this before, but I have video evidence that there's something about cats and dogs that will come up on a video with the right lighting. Well, not necessarily. I think they're there. I think they really are there. But I have proof of this because I had a video of somebody whose wife had just passed away, like 2 weeks prior to the video, and it picked up a huge amount of animals with somehow a UV light picked up all these animals in his room on the bed. They were jumping. I mean, they're very active and they're very visible with this kind of like an infrared camera that I used to have. I wish I still had that camera. It was like magic what it could pick up. I also picked up some animals in my mother's house, cats as well. This cats and dogs seem to be it. But there was once a video of a mouse on, I think it's still around. Like you could find this mouse that gets caught in a trap. Somebody had a camera on it, and you could see its soul depart its body. Like a little mouse leaves its body as soon as it stops moving. Now, this is an old video, so I don't know if they had CGI that good back then. Possibly. I'm sure there was a way to make a special effect like that. But just saying.
Daryl, you know what's wild?
Here's the wild part about that. So now we're like, oh, that's so Photoshop, that's so CGI, like 5 years ago. But now we're like, oh, that's so AI, and you cannot tell the difference anymore. It's getting so ridiculous. We're going to go back to like the video of 1995 and be like, well, that's more convincing because you couldn't have faked that back then.
Right,
this is the world we live in.
right?
It's wild, yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, today everything looks real, and you just assume everything is fake if it looks that good. Just that's fake. You can't even imagine, creating something that good. It's just the way it is. And I think that's about all I have, except for a few terrible pet jokes.
Hey, we would expect nothing less, and they're never terrible. Don't demean yourself like that. What you got?
All right. What do you call a dog that sings opera?
Not sure.
Puccini.
Of course.
I like that one.
Of course.
And what do you call a dog that could do a magic trick?
Also not sure.
A labracadabrador.
Of course you do.
It's so silly.
No, you're
All
great.
right,
You're great. You're the best. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for popping in here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being you. Amazing stuff as always. Have a great night.
Great show. Bye.
Thank you. You love her. That's Daryl in New York. Again, good friend for a long time. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow Daryl. And by the way, what she was talking about, like, she's got video on her YouTube channel of somebody with like a cat in the background that she's talking to or something. Like it's on her. Look, go follow, go watch. She showed me the video before, and there was a cat in the background or on the bed or something like this. And basically, she's like, "What's up with the cat?" And the guy's like, "What do you mean I don't have a cat?" She was talking to somebody and seeing this cat bounce around on the bed or something like this, like wild stuff, right? It's like, what the hell's going on? Go check it out. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Daryl, just like it sounds right there. Right there on top, you can't miss it. Please go give her a follow on her YouTube channel. She's got, again, multi-talented, sings in English and French. I was listening back one time and I said she sings in English and Spanish. Strike that, reverse it, English and French, and also does amazing karaoke segments on the Troubled Minds Discord. Join the Discord, but please go give her a channel a follow and go check out that spirit cat, the ghost cat. It's like she was saying, an infrared something or other. Like, I don't know. Like, again, me. I'm more open to the possibilities than saying that like this or that or the other thing is true. Let's consider what might be. And that's the whole point of all this. Anything to add, James, about that? And we'll go to MJ and we'll wrap it up.
No, just great calls from everyone. And I mean, I could just go on about ghost cat stuff, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other thing.
Which we'll get into. We'll get into another time. What is up, MJ in Virginia? Been a minute. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you, my man? What you got for us tonight?
Doing good. Your whole show, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You sound great.
Okay. Your whole show has been based on something. I just had an experience very much along the lines of what you're talking about. February 13th, Friday, in the morning, I had a very loud knock on my back door. I thought it was the police, but I finally realized it was inside the house. And outside was calm. My house was building up a certain amount of suppressive energy. And Ezekiel, one of my cats, apparently was gathering that energy up. He'd slept in this small bedroom. He wouldn't come to me anymore. I had to go find him and pet him. He was accepting of that, but somebody he was just staying away. He'd stay on the other end of the house. He passed away April 20th, and I buried him April 21st. And I was privileged because I did an out of body, because he wasn't passing away. Because normal cats, they eventually get unconscious and they're breathing, but they're going. He wasn't doing that. He was staying conscious of the whole thing, and I thought there was something wrong. So he was to help him through. So I did out of body, and my front door. In the out of body, look at my front door. The door's gone, but there was like this white mist with a light blue tint to it. And you could see in there, it's where it was very peaceful and very restful. So this is where he was going. It's being shown where he's going. And then I turned around and looked down, and there he was. It startled me. So it threw me back into my body, and I jumped back out real quick, and he was gone. Then I got up and thought I better go check on him. So his body was spasming, and he was, gasping for air. So he was going. And I have to wait at least 24 hours before you bury him. So I did. I buried him that afternoon on the 21st. And I hadn't realized just how protective or how important animals are to us spiritually. I sat in my house and the small bedroom was void of all energy. Whatever was in the house that was building, it was a negative thing going on. It was extraterrestrials and some other things going on, but they were like, they thought they could get in there. And when he passed away, I buried his body. It grounded all that energy and it literally cleansed the house. The bedroom was void of all energy. If you were sitting in my house, it's a mobile home, but the thing felt like there was nothing in there. I'm just sitting on a chair. There was nothing around me. There's nothing in there. I couldn't even feel my other cats. I couldn't sense them. So what he had done for the household, and not probably the property of the neighborhood, the portal that was over my neighbor's property was gone. It's been sort of like walled up. And what he did was he gathered all that energy up, and when he passed away, he took it with him. And when I finally buried his body, that grounded the rest of it. So now it's null and void. It's just a house now. And the cats are all back in order again because they were getting punchy and chaotic with what was going on. But him doing that in passing took all that energy. So your animals in your life are there to spiritually protect you and help you through your day or help you evolve. And with a cat, from my experience, the cats are there to take away the negative energy and sort of a quiet shield or protection, just sort of soften things, not to take it away, but soften things. But he literally did this for the house.
Yeah, I think the Egyptians would agree with that sentiment, right? The cats and the temples and all the rest of that stuff. I mean that's been a thing forever, for thousands of years. That weirdly enough, right? Like you see the memes with the dog and like the wolf is like the time traveling dog is the pug that goes back in time and meets the wolf and is like, what the hell is this? But the cat time travels back in time. It's a meme that the cat time travels back and it talks to the cat that looks exactly like itself and like they still worship us. That's something weird with cats too. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had firsthand experience. I mean, the full feeling of it, full force feeling of everything that happened. It's like, whoa. Now I'm looking at I still have 10 cats. I'm looking around like, what are your jobs? What are y'all doing? You know, in a sense, because they're coming back together. They're coming back to the house. They're coming back to me now. Towards the end of it, just before you passed away, they were all staying away from everything. They just wouldn't participate in a lot. They're cats that come in and do the stuff, but I wasn't able to participate with them because he was holding so much and he was doing that for them too. But it's a massive eye opener. So when you look at the planet, the animals on the planet, they're all doing work for themselves and humans. Humans don't really they don't have any skin in the game for it. The animals do. And they actually help us, all animals, snakes, birds, I don't care what it is. They're here for spiritual teaching, spiritual lessons. And unfortunately, a lot of people are missing out on those lessons. That's the sad part. But my personal experience is like, it blew me away. It totally blew me away.
Yeah, sort of a grounding ritual aspect of a passing. Yeah, I dig it. Fire stuff, welcome back. What else you got for us? And let's wrap this up.
Well, last night, since the, energies to be were supposed to be gone, everything's a clean slate in my house. It's like a clean slate. I can start over. It's like, wow, don't do this and don't contact that. And we're not doing that anymore. About 2 a.m, I stay up sometimes late watching movies on YouTube or one of my movies or something. And I'm sitting there and it just stopped raining and my house started to creak. It doesn't creak like that. And I started feeling pressure on my house. And one of the cats just got up and started walking around. It's like, why are you up? Just, prowling. And so I just got a feeling that something was out there trying to push on my house or come in. Of course, that's going to be extraterrestrials. That's the only thing I got going now. And because of the cats or what Ezekiel did, they're afraid to come in. They're around, but they don't want to come around me when I got cats around. And so they've learned the lesson of the power of your feline friends. They learned the power of that. Now they're backed off.
Yeah, cat. I'm both. I walk both worlds. I'm a cat guy and a dog guy. I get the magic of both. But yeah, there's something a little extra special about cats in the weirdest way.
And I've heard people describe them as, sort of an alien intelligence and things like this. And it's the best way to sort of describe something that we don't understand that probably understands us more than we understand ourselves. Like the feline thing is super weird. We'll get back to that at some point and talk about that on the show, because it's just bizarre AF. But I'm sorry for the passing of your cat there. That is horrific. It's always terrible to bury a loved one as such, but also manifesting some level of sort of peace and calm for the collective. I think that's incredible. And Firestar brother, welcome back. I appreciate you dipping in here, and thanks for sharing your experience.
Okay, one other thing. The reason I said Skinwalker Ranch, that whatever was in the house had taken two of my cats. One they put in the wall where my electric furnace is, and another one they put in an outbuilding. And I couldn't. The first one I heard, I was like, like 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm on Utah. I kept trying to slight me out. I was like, what did I go out and call Kitty where I was? Couldn't figure it out. And I finally just got up. I got real quiet. I said, I'm done with this. So this was going for an hour and a half. So I'm done. Just shut everything down. I started walking around the house really quiet. I got up to where my furnace is, and the paneling on the corner looked like I started pulling on it because it's an older home. So I just started pulling, and it finally popped out. And Bella was in the wall. She was looking at me like what? She was, all confused. And she eventually just sort of jumped out. And if you let go of the panel, it popped back into the wall. So she couldn't have put herself in that. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm looking for Gus. And I thought, I'd been tuning it up my riding mower. So I went flashlight. I'm looking, and I shined it into one of my buildings, has a window in the door. And there he sat. He couldn't have gotten in there. It was locked up. The whole thing was locked up.
That's weird. So you got some cats getting into spaces they shouldn't be able to get into. Cats.
Well, hey. I mean, that's what Ezekiel was doing too. He was gathering all that stuff up, and he just took everything with him. Hey, so his purpose in my life was to do that for me.
Let me tell you, guys, if cats start showing up on your walls, maybe the time is nigh. You're the best, MJ. Welcome back. Appreciate the experience, the tales. Again, rest in peace to Ezekiel and the pack. I'm glad everything's cleansed, and glad to have you back. There's a lot of love in the chat for you. Everybody's like, "Yay, MJ's back. We love MJ." Appreciate you very much, brother. Thanks for popping in here. Always a pleasure. Let's wrap this up. Have a great night. Okay.
All right. Same to you.
Thank you. Take care. You know me, love him. MJ in Virginia, good friend for a long time. All manner of experiences. And here's the thing too, like we started the night talking about canines. We started talking about this sort of residual haunting of not just people and battlefields, but canine spirits in these mines. And like I said, look, if you don't believe any of that, to me, that's fine. Honestly, I don't take it personally. I don't care. Like, you believe what you want to believe in that regard. But there are a ton of stories regarding this, not just now, but forever back. And so that's why, me personally, when I think about these ideas, I'm like, okay, so let's think about it from the materialist perspective. Let's think about this from sort of the soul consciousness aspect. Let's, that quad cameral mind, as has been said in the past. That's the point. Like, let's try and break free of these dogma cycles. And I don't mean it just religiously. I mean it like, the 1776 dogma cycle, right? Like this type of stuff. And I'm not saying what you think I'm saying. I'm saying, let's look at the world a little bit differently together, and let's talk about it. Because I think there are so many angles and lanes that get missed. And so let's bring them up. Let's consider these things and wonder where we are, where we came from, and where we're going. Anything, Dad James? Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, great calls all night. I just want to say it's funny because I used to notice that Logan would go and just check out one of my kitchen cupboards, the lower ones. I'd hear the door closing slightly. And I caught her doing that, so I know it was her sometimes. Then there was one time I heard that same sound, and I was going to say, Logan, stop it. And I turned to look at the kitchen, and Logan was laying on the floor right next to me, not in the kitchen. So it's amazing how these things, you never know what's happening unless you're really paying attention, because it can be something physical. It can be something that maybe is not quite so physical, but still has effects, apparently, on physical things. But yeah, thank you for having me on as always.
No, thank you for being here. You know me, love him. James Salcedo,
SalcedoParanormal.com, the paranormal expert in troubled minds, a dear friend, the glue of the show, all the rest of the things. Please give him a follow. If you haven't done it yet, like I said, at this point, you know who he is. You're hurting my feelings. Please go listen to his podcast. Go buy his books, plural. You can find that on Amazon. You can find all of that at SalcedoParanormal.com, SALSIDO Paranormal.com. As simple as that. Please help our friends. Please help our friends, okay? Look, people don't pay me to say this. You get it? Do you understand? Like, everything doesn't have to be about some shady monetary transaction where you're paid to say things you don't believe and didn't mean. It doesn't have to be that way. Can we just talk to each other? Can we just consider what we might know or might not know? Can we consider the fact that we're wrong, personally, professionally? Or no? We will not relent. We will. Never mind. I digress. It drives me insane that this is the world we live in. But hey, let's manifest a different one. Let's consider the things we don't know. Let's challenge ourselves in the space of what comes next or what came before us. And of course, what the future looks like, living it in the present. I know, tongue twister of the mind. I don't care. Get over it. That's what this is always about. Looking at things differently. Let's do it. If you want to help us, help our friends. TroubledMinds.org/friends. You know what to do. 95% of that's all free. Please help our friends in all the places. Some people have written books. Look, if you appreciate the work that we do here, please help our friends. Go buy those books. The people selling books. James, Herschel, Matthew in Colorado. Like, there's some people down there who've written some books. David from hold on. Anyway, see, this is what happens why you can't mention names, because then you have to mention them all and then you forget some and then you sound like a dick. But anyway, look, do it. There's a thing. There we go. David's book, Project Phase Shift from Magic and the Noise. Look, there's so many people down there that have done amazing things. Please just help our friends. If you got some spare change, go buy their books. Go help them out. Go download their podcast and listen to the things they're doing. If you want to help us directly as a group, this space, Troubled Minds, this space, all of us, the collective, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening where we're not going to tell you who to vote for. Everything is not going to devolve into some BS political narrative. And there's quite a lot more happening in the whole world around us that is, dare I suggest, magical instead of perverted, grotesque, and upside down. Hey, let's find that magic in the noise. If you want to help us directly, again, spread the word at troubledfans.com. Thank you to Sweets. Special shout out over there on in all the places for retweeting all the things, posting all the people that are on this show. When they call in, Sweets is in all the chats, dropping all the stuff for all the people. Please follow these people. Please follow Sweets on X and everywhere else. Links are in the description. You guys are the best. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. This one's for Sweets. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.